As of yesterday, at the time of recording this, I am now a Usui Reiki Master Teacher. So that's actually pretty exciting. That is level 4, which is the highest level in Usui Reiki. Um, Typically, from what I've seen, most levels of Reiki tend to go up to level 4, but there are different kinds of Reiki. And some levels, I believe there are some styles of Reiki that have higher levels. Um, but as far as Yasui Reiki goes, I have now hit the top level of that. So that is actually pretty exciting. So I will be working on that in the background, trying to get that set up and debating whether I want to go work at a metaphysical store, or if I want to try to start right off the jump with my own services, but I haven't really thought about that too much yet. So, yeah, I will keep you guys posted. And then when I do make that decision, I'll start including that in the description of the video. So then you guys can check that out if you'd like. But with that out of the way, welcome to this week's episode of Divergence and Divine. My name is WIllspiration, and today, after roughly, like 11 episodes now? I believe this is episode 12, of talking about a lot of, things in terms of like autism and neurodivergence. I'm finally going to start stepping into the divine side of the name. And I want to spend this week talking about a little bit more of the metaphysical stuff and Reiki and some of the things that I've learned through Reiki and I'd like to share with you guys. So the first thing that I want to talk about is just the way that chakras can really affect us. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it because I don't want to overload you guys with too much information, but there are a couple chakras that I want to talk about. And we're going to start off with the heart chakra. So the one thing that I've learned is that when it comes to the heart chakra is whenever you're going through a lot, be it stress, grief, just anything really that keeps you from, being happy and open to, receiving and helping others and just, being in a higher vibration, as we call it, can also really affect your ability to manifest. And I feel like that's kind of such a big thing for us, I think, because when we want to achieve something, we always talk about how we want to go about it. We make a plan, we make strategies, you kind of just go for it, right? But in the metaphysical aspect, and even in a religious aspect, when you want to think about it in terms of prayer, you pray to God that you want, if you want something and you have faith in God. And the metaphysical / what people call spiritual aspect, it's known as manifestation. So you speak it into the universe, what you want to obtain, and, you work for it, right? And if your heart chakra is closed, it's kind of hard to, manifest when you are not open to receiving. And another thing that can affect too is also your throat chakra, which is your ability to speak, your truth and, to be very effective at communication. And it's so crazy because whether it's from a spiritual standpoint or a mental standpoint, the one thing that I've noticed is that it doesn't matter how you look at it. If you close yourself off to people and you're always in this lower vibration of fear, it really does affect how you speak and how you see things. Because sometimes, I'll be honest, there are some people that are just genuinely not good humans in general and are very, just like I said, not good people. I was trying to think of another way to describe it, but my brain's kind of drawing a blank right now. But more often than not, when people are jerks or they're, just complete assholes, it's usually because they have a lower vibrational frequency and they're living in some sort of state of fear or inferiority, or they're going through a lot, and fear makes us say things that we typically don't mean. And I want to share an example of this, and I don't know if anybody from high school will be watching this, but I think it's time that I kind of share my story of how this happened. I'm not going to mention names, but anyone that went to high school with me and that knows me, especially if the person that, this happened to is watching, then this will finally, they'll finally understand what I couldn't say all those, what? I'm trying to remember, because I graduated in 2010, yeah, but I couldn't say basically 15 years ago. But this story goes way back to 8th grade. Well, 7th grade, technically. But there was this girl that I used to go to school with, and we have first met in 7th grade because back in my day, I say that like I'm old, like I'm in my 50s or 60s, but back in 2005 or 2004, no, 2004, I believe. Yes, so back in 2004, my school district decided to build a new high school and turn the old high school into a middle school. So the way it worked was we had 4, wait, hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we had 4 or 5 elementary schools. And then we would have grades, pre-K through 8th in those separate buildings. So none of us from the other 4 or 5 elementary schools would ever meet until high school. So when they decided to build a new high school and turn the old high school into a middle school, they figured, given the small size of the high school, that they wouldn't be able to fit, 6th through 8th grade. So what they did instead was they turned one of the elementary schools into an upper elementary school, which was for 5th and 6th grade, and then turned the remainder of the elementary schools into pre-K through 4th. And then the old high school was 7th and 8th, which was middle school. And then the new high school was for high school. So we actually all got to meet each other in 7th grade. And there was this one girl in particular, and she was very sweet, very nice. She was also extremely popular, and yet she did not fit the popularity mold at all. She wasn't bitchy, she wasn't stuck up or snooty or anything like that. She was genuinely a sweet and caring soul, and everybody loved her for it. Some people often accused her of being fake and two-faced, but for me, intuitively, I never got that from her. And it was the most interesting thing because I remember my sister would always talk about this girl's older sister that she went to school with. And she's like, oh yeah, her older sister's ditzy and she's, sometimes I think she's faking it. And I don't think anyone can be that dumb. And, but my sister also has her own mental health issues, which that'll probably be another topic one day, whether that be in a book that I write or later on in this podcast, in terms of episodes anyway, not in this particular episode. But it was so interesting because I remember that because me as an autistic person, I always take things at face value. So I was always told never interact with popular people because they're two-faced. They're going to be nice to your face, talk shit about you behind your back, and they'll just use you. So when this girl was trying to be really nice, I would always push her away. I would just acknowledge her, and give her short answers and not want anything to do with her, right? But eventually, she would come up to me, and we were in band together. And as band would have it, we would be often tested to see what chair position that we would get. So obviously, like if you were first chair, you would get like the first trumpet piece, right? Because her and I both played trumpets. And typically there would be like second and third trumpet pieces, and then there like the rest of it would be like the lower end trumpet pieces. So it's like basically the first trumpet piece was like the full original piece, and then like the second and third trumpet pieces were very similar, but like just not as intense. And then like the lower end, like, fourth and lower, basically just had like a simplified version of the song that they would play. But as luck would have it, we ended up sitting next to each other in band. And that happened for all of 7th grade and 8th grade. And I started getting to know her a little bit. And eventually, we kind of started talking here and there. And by the end of 7th grade, we kind of became acquainted. And I was like, still very on my guard. I was like, I don't want to like actually befriend this girl, right? I don't trust her. I know how popularity goes. I don't trust that she's genuinely my friend, right? That she genuinely wants to be friends. So 8th grade comes along, and I remember she was going for student council president, which, spoiler, she got. And I remember that she just really wanted to thank people, even if they didn't vote for her. She just wanted to thank them for her time. So she brought in, treats, whether it be like popsicles or like, actually, I think she only brought in popsicles. I can't remember, but I remember that I had ice cream, and I think it was a popsicle. I think it was actually an orange popsicle, like the ones that are orange flavored, and then they got like the cream on the inside. So it's like the orange vanilla ones. Yeah, I think I had that. I think. Or just some sort of popsicle in general like that. And I remember I told her that I voted for her. And I remember that it made her very happy because she had been trying to talk to me for a while. And I was pushing her away because she was popular. And eventually, then we became friends. We started talking more. And even though she was like in the higher level classes and I was in the lower level classes, because, spoilers, autism and ADHD sucks, especially when it's accompanied by dyslexia, dyscalculia, and, it just, math and reading just is not my strong suit. Anything beyond like multiplication and division, yeah, good luck trying to explain it to me, because my brain is just gonna go boop and I won't remember shit. But it was just funny because we would talk, and it was crazy. It was like, I'm like, am I really friends with like the most popular girl here in school? Like, is this an actual thing? Like, are we actually friends? And then the more I got to talk to her and hang out with her in band, the more I was just kind of like, she really isn't that bad. Like, I don't feel like I have to be defensive around her or like have my guard up. Like, I just felt genuinely comfortable around her. And I'm like, maybe I was wrong. Maybe we just like we all have this notion of popularity means power and mean people, right? Because I mean, we're kids, we're teenagers at that time. That's what we think. When we hear something, that's how we think that the world operates, right? Until we become adults and we actually get into the real world and realize the real world is way more complex than we could have ever imagined, right? And then it was just crazy. Like, we would hang out together. There were, we've taken pictures together. Well, actually, 2 pictures together. Wait, no, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we've taken 4 pictures for each other. And then, no, not for each other, but with each other. My bad. But we've taken 4 pictures with each other throughout pretty much all of middle school and high school together. 4 pictures together. And we were actually friends. Like, I would say that we were actually more friends than like the people that I actually hung out with, that I said were my friends. Which, don't get me wrong, all those people that, I wasn't as close to as I was with this girl were my friends throughout high school. And even now, a couple of them, like a small handful of them, I still talk to from time to time on occasions, even to this day, 15 years after we've graduated. So, but she was the one that I felt the closest to. So, towards the end of the year, it turns out that there was another girl in our group of friends that I was friends with that had a crush on me. And at that time, I had started developing a crush on my friend, and I just kind of was just like, I would talk to this one girl in our friend group about my friend that I had a crush on all the time, because I'm like, do I tell her that I have a crush on her? Like, is that going to make it awkward? Like, because I really do like her. And I didn't know that this girl in our friend group had a crush on me. So I didn't know that the reason why she was getting annoyed about me talking about this girl all the time was because she had a crush on me, and it was pissing her off because she liked me. So I personally didn't feel that way for the girl that had a crush on me. And it was just kind of the most interesting thing, because then all of a sudden, freshman year, the girl that had a crush on me that I rejected started telling me all these rumors about my friend that I had a crush on. She's like, oh, this girl, she's two-faced. She's lying to your face. She doesn't like talking to you. She makes fun of you behind your back. I've heard her in class all the time make fun of you. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't believe that, because like back then I didn't get that feeling from her, right? I've known that girl longer than I known the girl that had a crush on me. And I interact with her way more, right? And as the years went on, and I say years, plural, because this happened pretty much all of high school until the beginning of senior year. And it just got progressively worse and worse. Like, one time she said that when this girl and her friends were in Girl Scouts, they were camping at some campground, and behind the bushes was a Boy Scout camp. And that, like, the girls were sneaking over to the boys' camp and doing truth or dare, and they were doing, like, strip truth and dare and stuff. I'm like, mind you, she said in 4th grade. I don't think, well, like, I don't think that's true, because, like, what 10-year-old would know about this kind of stuff? I mean, I've seen it as it's gotten older that that's becoming a huge problem with this youth. Is like you hear it all the time, like teenagers sending nudes to each other, and it's just like, why? Like, first of all, that's messed up, especially if parents don't know that their kids are doing this. But back then, like in 2002, that was probably not crossing a single, kid's mind of like, oh, I want to see you naked. And, sex drives and hormone changes haven't even kicked in yet. So I just knew that was a lie. But as it persisted and as it went on, this girl just kept insisting that these rumors were true. Now, to my friend's defense, there was one time where the student council body tried to get people to sit with other people. If they did, they would get rewarded for, doing this whole, lunch shakeup event. Well, guess what? Half of the lunch that I was in, which I believe, what was that, A lunch or C lunch? I forget which lunch I was in that year. And nobody from my group decided they wanted to participate, so they all just sat where they were. And my friend comes over and she sits at my table with her best friend that she's known since since they were literally toddlers, right? And she goes, oh, she's like, "You're here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but nobody from my table, is sitting here." And she goes, "Oh, well, that's funny because I'm actually assigned to this table." And I'm like, "Really?" And I remember looking at the list, and I remember not seeing her name there. And I remember questioning her motives because at this time my mind had been poisoned by that one girl in the in our friend group that I was a part of. And I guess at this point I would consider that girl a friend. And I was very wary. I was going back to my old ways that I was in seventh grade, where I was wary of my friend again. Except for it made it worse because I was actually friends with her. Because some other girl was telling me rumors about her. Because this girl was mad at me because I didn't like her back. And my friend told me, she's like, "Yeah." And then she sat there for a little bit, like for 15, 20 minutes, we talked. I ate my lunch with her. And then she left and she's like, "I'm sorry I gotta go, but, I'm glad that we were able to, she gave me this nice little pep talk that, because she's part of the whole student council body, she couldn't sit down for very long. She had to go check up on like, other people and stuff. And I was just kind of like, I never thought about it until like recently when I found an old picture of us from my Nintendo DSi that I took junior year. But I never realized that she was actually doing that because she was my friend and she didn't want me to feel left out because I actually wanted to do something. Because if there's one thing about me and my autism is that I'm a rule follower. So, like, I didn't want to just not participate, And plus, I thought it'd be kind of fun, I hate change, yeah, sure, especially back then. But, like, I thought, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna, have an open mind and see if maybe I'm actually wrong about these people, right? Because my friend group that I was a part of often had the same mentality of, oh, popular people are bad, don't hang out with them. And I'm glad that it did because it really proved to me that my friend was my friend. And then finally, junior year, a little bit after winter break, I have finally told my friend that I had a crush on her. And because I told her, I said, like, I like you a lot. And she goes, "Oh, I like you a lot too." And I said, "I mean, like, as in more than just a friend." And I remember she just kind of looked at me and her eyes kind of got a little wide and she slowly nodded her head. And then she did this, she like scurried around the little locker wall, I guess I would call it. Because in my school, the little, like every class had its own locker bay, so to speak. So like freshmen had a section that were specifically designated for them, juniors, sophomores, seniors, Well, my locker was on the same little slab of wall because like they would just have like, they would be alongside the walls and then they were just like these little random like brick pillars, specifically 6 brick pillars that created like, aisleways. And on that little specific slab, I was on one side and her locker was on the other. Now, I remember she scurried around and she told a couple of her friends. She didn't say it out loud because she didn't want me to hear her. And I remember hearing them giggle. And then they walked away. And I was like, oh. And I didn't know how to take it, but we just kept, we were still friends even after that. It was a little awkward, yeah, sure, for like the first week or two. But after that, it was fine. Like, it's not like anything had changed. But then senior year happened. And it was a senior prank. And one of my friends from my friend group was our class president that year. And she had talked to our principal about being able to do senior pranks after school, and that as long as they weren't too bad to clean up, if we were allowed to. And our principal, being, the sweetheart that she was, said yes. She said, as long as you guys don't do anything crazy or get out of hand, it's fine. And I remember my friend had, the one that I, admitted to having a crush on. I remember she had fractured her ankle during the powder puff practice for the senior games, like for the homecoming games that we did. And it kind of was like pointless because we ended up having a bomb threat and they ended up canceling it. So we actually never got our homecoming events done ever. So it kind of sucked. But I remember it was my first time. I was finally starting to feel really confident in myself and, swearing because, my dad swore, like my dad swears a lot, like almost every other sentence, I would say. Not as bad now that he's a lot older, but back then my dad would have like a cuss word in like every other sentence, I swear. Which reminds me, I'm going to have to censor out the swear words because, YouTube doesn't like swearing, apparently. So that sucks. But anyway, I remember like people were shocked. They're like, we've never heard you swear. And I'm like, well, yeah, I don't usually swear at school. I don't want to get in trouble. I'm like, technically, even though we're at school, we're not actually at school. So I'm going to swear if I feel like it. And they're like, damn, you're cool as hell. But then a couple of the guys, some of them brought fireworks, and then they found a dead frog carcass and apparently shoved the firework inside the frog and blew it up. And security saw it, and we got sent home. And our class president was kind of embarrassed, and she was upset at the people that did this, which she had every right to be because they ruined our fun, but. Then the girl that had a crush on me that I rejected, who was dating another guy who literally, we don't look the same, but we're built the same. We're skinny Hispanic males that are nerds, right? So she has moved past this, but I guess still had like a vendetta against me. So her and like three other people in our friend group, we all kind of lived around the same area of the town. A couple of them one lived on the outskirts, one lived in town, and then two lived in town, and then I lived on the subdivision in the outskirts, and then the other one was this dude's girlfriend, and she lived all the way in the next town over. And they were telling me when they went to go drop me off first about like, oh yeah, this girl's been talking shit about you behind your back, and she's really tired of you and you annoy her, and she just wants you to leave her alone, and yada yada yada, blah 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 blah. And back then I had this really bad habit because my rejection sensitive dysphoria has always been bad, especially since my teenage years. It was actually worse in my teenage years than it is now. But typically I would always like write people apologies. Like anytime I feel like I was bothering them, annoying them, wronging them in some way, I would always write apology notes, and back in the days of MySpace, it was like, I would either send it to them through MySpace messages, or I would actually physically print it out and hand it to them at school, like an actual note. And then the girl that I rejected back in, 8th grade told me, yeah, she's getting tired of all those like apologies, and she's throwing them away, and she's making fun of you. And I remember I couldn't take it anymore, and I finally snapped. I went home that night. I only slept 3 hours. I could not calm down. And I went to school. I ignored her all day. And I remember she waved to me. And I'm like, why is she waving to me? Why would someone who's a liar wave to me? Obviously, hindsight's 2020. She was waving to me because I'm her friend, and I should have waved back to her because I shouldn't have believed the dumb bitch that's telling me lies and rumors about my friend, which at that time, me being not knowing that I was autistic, didn't realize that, oh, I probably shouldn't take everything at face value, right? And then I went home that night and I wrote her, my friend, the most irate message ever. I have never said the word fuck so many times in a single sentence because I was that pissed. And then it turns out that I made my friend cry. And our friendship was so important to her. And it's even questionable whether she actually liked me back, because when my principal said that I destroyed a human being, it kind of implied that our friendship was not only special to her, but it also kind of implied that there might have actually been some sort of hidden interest as well. Just because I know that like her parents weren't keen on her dating because, they were religious. So they really didn't want her to date until after she graduated high school and was 18 and an adult. Because then after that, when she goes to college, she's on her own. If she wants to date, then she can. But they didn't, they just were trying to protect their daughter, because they had 3 girls. They had no boys, only 3 girls. So I can't really blame her parents, But it really did hurt her a lot, and nothing was the same. And I remember there was one time where things were kind of mending, and then she was trying to tell me something, and I felt like it was a lie, and I called her a liar to her face. And it was the first time that I've ever seen her go from that bubbly personality to mad, and I've never seen her mad before. And then she literally looked at me and she was just like, "I don't lie," and she walked away. And then after that, we had like never talked again the rest of the year. And then I messaged her after we graduated, telling her how I did a English class as a summer class in college, and I started college early, and I just to kind of get a feel for it, I did one class. It was my dad's idea. And she talked to me and she responded, kindly. And then after that, she never responded to me ever again. And I have not heard from her in 15 years. Have I tried reaching out to her since? Yes, of course, multiple times. And then I never got anything back. So after trying for like 5 or 6 years, I finally stopped messaging her, because there was really no point. But the moral of the story is that when your chakras are blocked, especially your heart and your throat, you say things that you don't mean out of fear. I was afraid of losing my friend and the girl that, even though I admitted I had a crush on, like that crush didn't go away. Those feelings were still there even after I admitted to her that I liked her. And I was just afraid that I was going to lose my friend, because, the one thing that you learn as an adult is that, friendships come and go, people come and go. As the saying goes, sometimes people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Sometimes people come in, to teach you a lesson. Sometimes people stay with you for a little bit and help you grow, and then you guys drift apart and go your own separate ways, whether it ends in a good way or a bad way. And then sometimes people genuinely stay in your life for the rest of your life the moment you meet them. And I will never know what kind of, person she was meant to be in my life, because this girl in our friend group that had a crush on me ruined it for me, because she knew that I took everything at face value. So I would never question her where she got this information, who she heard this rumor from, because I would have defended my friend. And it makes me wonder, because like I said before, my principal said that I destroyed a human being. So either our friendship was that important, or not only was our friendship that important, but she also had feelings for me as well, but knew that because she couldn't date me until we graduated, that she had to keep her feelings for me, under wraps, because she didn't want to give me any false hope, because she may not have had feelings for me when we graduated. She probably wasn't sure if the feelings would have lasted. Will I ever know that? Of course not. I'll never know now. Plus, she's already married and has 3 kids. So obviously, I wasn't the one for her, right? But she still could have been my first girlfriend. I don't know. And I'll never know. And it was very, very hard to come to terms with that. And that incident is what really kind of made me want to go, start helping other people, because she's very kind. She's very sweet. She's very helpful, and, she always was upbeat and positive. And I'm pretty sure she had her own struggles too. And, who knows? Maybe she might have been neurodivergent. Maybe she had ADHD and didn't realize it. You never know, and I just want this to kind of be a cautionary tale of never take things at face value, because it does affect your energies. It does affect your vibration. And even from, the, divergent, like the mental aspect of this, like it will ruin, friendships and relationships. So it's why when at work, somebody that I know was, having rumors spread about her and things like this because of the leadership situation on that shift. I remember just like, I thought back to it. I'm just like, this reminds me of what happened in high school, because, this employee in particular reminded me of my friend. And I did my best to acknowledge everyone's feelings, neither confirm or deny any rumors, nor did I spread them around. But I did let this team lead know that people were talking bad about her, and just gave her a piece of advice of, don't listen to the rumors. Obviously people are upset right now and they're looking to take their frustration out, and taking it out on you is the only way that they're going to feel better. But don't let them get to you, because, you're a good person. So I don't want that to affect how you feel about yourself. And if people don't like you, it's fine. Now, obviously this employee, she understood that like people weren't going to like her when she became moved up, but she just didn't think that was going to be met with that much criticism. And she was already expecting it, but knowing that people were talking that badly about her, the curiosity was really bugging her. But I was able to help kind of soothe that, and she's done pretty good ever since. So sometimes, you learn your lesson, and I got to hold the mic with a different hand, because I realized I've been talking for 38, almost 39 minutes now. My hand's getting kind of tired. But the moral of the story is that when your chakras are blocked, and your flow of energy and your openness to receiving is not properly working, that you will do and say things that you don't mean, and you might hurt others in the process. But that also doesn't mean that you can get away with doing whatever you want either. I just want to state that specifically, because obviously, when I say and do things you don't mean, I mean like being an asshole, and like, snubbing people, and, talking shit about them behind their backs, that kind of stuff, not like actually physically harming people or things like that, because there are truly evil people in this world, but that's because they have evil souls. So just kind of let that be a differentiating factor. But I really hope that my story kind of helped you understand how closing yourself off can make you say things that you don't really mean, and that sometimes you will say words that will hurt people more than you realize. And that's just something that I wanted to share with you guys about, also not taking things at face value and believing everything that people say. If your intuition says that something's not right, don't be afraid to question it, because more often than not, you're going to find that people are going to say things just to either get under your skin, or to try to turn you against someone that they don't like, or turn you against somebody that you like. You never know what their ulterior motive is. They may not even have one. They might actually just be operating out of fear too. So you never know. So it's always good to take things with a grain of salt, because if not, then what happened between me and my friend in high school is going to be doomed to repeat itself. So that is something that I had to spend years working on in therapy, because I always blamed myself. But I did heal from it. And when I found this picture from junior year. It actually made me happy instead of depressed. And I actually thought I lost that photo too, so I'm glad that I still have it. But it serves as a reminder of how much I've grown. So, yeah. With that, I'm going to end this week's episode. I know it's a little bit longer. I try to keep them about like around 35 minutes-ish. After editing, this one might be like probably between 38 and 40 minutes. But as always, if you guys like this video and like this podcast, make sure you subscribe, like the video, and hit the notification bell, because notification bell will let you know when I upload a new video. And with that, normally I would close out this podcast, but I do want to say that next week's topic is going to be about healing. And that episode is going to look at it from both the mental health perspective as well as the, metaphysical and spiritual perspective. So I will be tackling Divergent and Divine at the same time next week for healing. And now with that, I'm going to end this episode off. So I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.